And let us stand for the pledge.
Where is it this time?
So this is our April 15th, 2024 council meeting. Clerk Trapp, could you please call the roll?
Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hare?
Here.
Parker?
Present.
Rousseau?
Present.
President Poznanski?
Here.
We have 7 present.
Okay. Let us have an approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda for April 15th, 2024.
Second. We have a motion by Parker, second by Rousseau. Do we have any? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We have none opposed.
No, I'm in.
But we do now.
Yeah, no, it's not opposed. We're talking about the minutes, correct?
No, okay, hold on.
Yes, I
That's
slept that one.
Now we'll move into our minutes. Let's move into our March 18th.
There we go.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes or any?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
Okay, so motion by Fowler, support by Parker. Go ahead.
Yeah, our discussion on the unfinished business, number 11. The sidewalk update, that's the conversation we had regarding the Tar and Associates billing of the delinquent bill. Somebody mentioned that the treasurer was going to look into that, or?
Well, these are the minutes this is what was discussed.
Okay, yes, but
Yeah.
it's classified as sidewalk update. Is that-
Okay, so what, you wanted
should-
something else?
Should it be Tar and Associates delinquent billing?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is just for the March 18th, correct?
Yes. So if we ever bring it up on our unfinished business, it's titled that, correct?
Okay.
Okay. I'll still support with change.
Okay, so for the March 18th, all in favor with the correction? Aye. Do we have any opposed? We have none opposed. Then we also have our minutes from March 25th, the special meeting.
Make that motion to approve March 25th.
We have a motion by Parker,
Second.
second by Fowler. Any corrections or additions? All in favor of the minutes as presented for March 25th?
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? I'm sorry. Doesn't want to stand.
Oh.
All in favor? Or,
Aye.
sorry, any opposed? We have none opposed. Okay, moving into our bills. We have 2 sets of bills, one in the amount of $405,000 and $405,060. Somebody else say it.
$405,065.66.
Thank you.
And $33,303.37.
Thank you. Do
I'll
we
make that
have,
motion to approve.
we have a motion by Parker. Support by Edwards. Do we have any discussion?
I have a question. AT&T, $183,000.
What, which one are you on? Could you, what's the header?
Check register.
Okay.
That is the new 911 system that was ordered last September or last August, I believe. After the installation and all the, everything was buttoned up. Now it just
Okay.
took a while to get the bill.
All right, thank you.
Anything else regarding bills?
Yeah, the other thing that popped up was the amount for Mitt TV. Is that the normal amount that we normally pay?
What amount are you referencing?
55,041,
5,400?
5541,
5441?
5,500.
Oh, 5,541, yes.
Okay.
It is. And there is actually, we were looking into, a couple months ago, we had discussed
Yeah.
in February, there was a DDA meeting missed. So we have discussed how we would have that look. I did not want to sign that check until we had an answer. Do we have an answer?
Yes, I talked with the accountants, and we will be deducting that at the true-up
Okay.
for their final day of, for their final month of the contract year.
So at the 12th payment, when we do our true-up, it will be recognized at that time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor of approving the bills as is? Aye.
Is that a
Do-
roll call?
We normally do a roll call from here.
For
Okay, go ahead.
financial? Okay. Parker?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Care?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
President Poznanski?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Rousseau?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries 7-0.
And at your table tonight, I had missed putting it in the packet, was your investment papers that has the green highlight. You can see in total for the month, we made $31,000 essentially in interest there. So that is your report. Okay, into our special presentations. Donna, she didn't have a PowerPoint this month. She said she's short and sweet and have at it, ma'am.
Pictures this month, but. So I'll introduce myself, Donna Foland. I live at 252 Church Street, and I'm representing the Green Space on Prospect Street group that's looking to preserve the 4.6 acres at 297 Prospect as green space for the community in perpetuity. And I have all good news tonight. We have, of our $500,000 goal, we have surpassed $300,000. So we're well on our way, and we have been, the grassroots effort is just, I mean, the smaller donations just come in every day. And we've got some corporate donors we're, talking to, and so I think we feel optimistic that we're gonna make it to our goal. Our benefit on Friday has been sold out for a week. So we're real optimistic about that, being a really good time and, adding to the fund. I think last month we had discussed that we may be bringing you, some draft language for an agreement. And what that was, where we are is like another month of more information gathering. We are hoping that in the next couple of weeks, to be having a conversation with the school board to understand just what they're looking for with the property, what kind of time frame. They've been really great about keeping in communication. Franco Foligno has been their liaison, and they've been, real forthright in where they are and that they're ready to chat with us. So it's looking good. There's lots of work to do. Another thing I'm working on is to start looking at just what those costs would be long-term. And I will, hopefully in the next month or two, I'll have some numbers to share with you all about that. So, any questions for me?
So have you had any conversation with the school board yet regarding,
No, no,
Okay.
no. Just have been keeping them up to date on our progress, and they've been communicating with Franco and said, we're gonna have an opportunity to talk with them soon.
How many tickets did you sell for your event?
Well, I've got 190. Mhm. So, and that includes, I would say I probably sold 170. We've got some gratis tickets that we were providing to people as our guests, so,
Nice.
yeah. Got some really cool items to auction, so we'll see how it goes. All right, thank you as always for giving me a few minutes every month and for your continued attention and interest.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving into our public comments. Now is the time for a public comment. You have 3 minutes to speak at the podium. Any topic you'd like. Okay, I'm going to close public forum. Okay. Moving into our officer reports. Let's just start at the end. If Clerk Trapp, if you want to.
Okay, yep. So today is the first day of the cemetery road repaving project. The road crew started this morning. Construction signs are posted, so please enter the cemetery with caution. The crew is going to first mill the entire cemetery, which I think they did most of it, a lot of it today. Then we'll lay down the new roads. The next cemetery board meeting will be held this coming Wednesday at 3 p.m. in this room. Last Friday, I attended a clerk's meeting at the Macomb County offices where the main topic was early voting. This past February was the first time the state of Michigan held early voting, which begins 9 days before the Monday before the election. Village residents will be going to Washington Township for early voting for the August and November elections. I will be posting all the information and dates on our website, and we'll be having flyers in the office this summer for reminders. I would like to take this chance to bid the police chief Dan farewell and best wishes on his retirement. Your kindness and patience when I first got here in November 2018 was very much appreciated. It has been a great pleasure and honor to work with you for the last almost 6 years. I know you will be missed by all of us in the front office. Thank you.
Nolan, or Trustee Care?
No, just more of the same. Thanks, Chief Dan. We're sure gonna miss you. I appreciate the years and years of service here in Romeo, and thanks again.
Trustee Fowler?
Nothing.
Okay. Trustee Parker?
Thanks, Chief Dan, for your years of service. Also, thanks to the cemetery board for getting the project rolling with the roads. It's gonna be a nice addition.
Trustee Rousseau?
Thank you, Chief.
Trustee Edwards?
Thanks, Chief. Appreciate all you've done for the village. I also wanted to, I received this letter from Semco Energy today about existing the natural gas main and service lines on the following streets. I hadn't saw this before. On East Newberry, Minot Street, North Bailey, North Main, Rawls, Prospect, Turner, and West St. Clair. So in the near future, you're gonna start seeing flags going up, because they'll be calling Miss Dig Out and things like that, and they'll be replacing the service lines to your home. And at some point, they're gonna have to access your home and, to attach the new lines, the new gas lines. So just, if you hadn't seen it yet, just wanted to make you aware of it. I didn't know anything about this myself either. I just got a letter today from Semco, so. That's all I got.
Thanks, man.
Trustee Bartholomew?
Yes, Chief, thank you for your service, for sure, and good luck.
Okay. My report for the month. I attended the SEMCOG meeting, that is the Southeastern Michigan Council of Government. Our annual meeting was on March 21st at the Clinton Macomb Public Library, myself along with Clerk Trapp. Had a very interesting presentation. They do a couple, but this one there was a topic on the use of AI in governments and what that could mean legally and the issues, potential issues. So that was very interesting. Attended and was able to speak on behalf of the village at the State of the Community from our, why can't I think, from Kelly at the Chamber. It was an honor to represent the village of Romeo and inform the community, along with Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, of all the great strides and plans in place for the village in 2024. I had a meeting earlier, a couple weeks ago with HRC. We had an in-house meeting, and HRC is our engineering firm. We were able to go over some items of concern and formulate an action plan. We will have a follow-up meeting to put these steps into actual action and acceptance. I had attended our Ford Task Force meeting. We do this quarterly now. It was monthly. Now that we've gotten a good chunk of things accomplished, it's every 3 months. Can't give really too many specific updates as the non-disclosure agreements, but you will see or possibly hear things soon. In the back of your packets, just as for information, there's a letter of support from myself specifically to the Lake St. Clair Cooperative Invasive Species Management Area. This was a grant to obtain monies for them to be able to address the invasive Phragmites along the Macomb Orchard Trail. You know, we all see them, they're very huge. We call them cattails, but it's actually a quite invasive species. I had reached out to Green Macomb earlier, knowing that we're coming into spring and this is when they really start to take off. We had cleaned out at the end of Dickinson Street at the end of last year a large portion that holds back a lot of the drainage. And so it's exciting to see them actually take a step forward to be able to address this, as it's on their property, and we can't really go maintain their property. We need to work together on that. In regards to Parks and Rec Commission, there's a couple new commissioners have been appointed. So Kim Duda reached out to me, and they would like to bring back to the table the conversation about the lease term agreement. So I'm waiting to hear back from her. She was kind of gathering from me where and what we had accomplished to that point with our subcommittee. So when we need to bring it back, we'll put it on the agenda and bring that committee back to fruition. I had spoke with Armada Supervisor, Mr. John Paderak. He had reached out to me after the last meeting as he was a little frustrated at Trustee Fowler's comments, and he just wanted it to be clear that he has never been to a barbecue with Trustee Fowler and has not and did not tell Trustee Fowler that Armada would provide fire for the Village of Romeo. I have attended 2 out of the 6 MML Women in Leadership courses. They are Thursday evenings, and we will be finishing with a capstone in person at the beginning of May in Lansing. The East Side Road project, the bid package has been out. We've added a few extra things that weren't in the initial package. There were some extra alleys and items that needed to still be addressed. So those were put in as an addendum, and that was sent out. Wanted enough time for people to be able to bid on it, so that's why we don't have them at this meeting. We're going to be adding them to next Tuesday. At the beginning of next Tuesday's meeting, we'll have those bids there, and we'll be able to make a decision at that time. The posting, unfortunately, Miss Cindy will be retiring here in almost a year. And the posting for the position has been posted by the village clerk, received resumes, and will be scheduling interviews. L&L Products reached out to the Village of Romeo and offered us a tour of their facility on April 3rd. Amazing is not enough to say what goes on over there. The work and innovation happening right here in our own backyard is inspiring. To the point that from that meeting sprung a collaboration between the Village of Romeo and L&L, where they had a new product that they're testing, and go figure, we had a pothole that needed some attention. So we had an inaugural, they were out there with their science vests and everything on, and it will be exciting in this experiment with them to see how this product tests here in the colder climate. Regarding the Sisson Park, I had reached out to Green Macomb to see what we could do to get moving towards actually creating a park there, as it doesn't seem that our Parks and Rec is on fire about it. So reached out to Green Macomb. We had a Zoom meeting last week. They're able to do a couple different mock-ups of possible layouts and ideas of what the space could be. And from there, the intention is to have an on-site meeting, a get-together with the community, bringing the ideas of maybe these mock-ups and other ideas in collaboration. What do we like from it? What don't we? Maybe we want to add something. And then essentially, ultimately, get a plan and a design together so that we can start moving forward with intention into plans and grabbing some grants. So trying to get something going there. Wanted to offer a welcome to Peach's Brunch House. If you haven't been there yet, open 7 days a week, 7 to 3, delicious. Noah is the owner and his family, so welcome. Spirit of Romeo award has been ordered, and we will get that to them in time. And then just as a heads up, coming up on May 14th, we have a 7 p.m. Asset Management Basics for Paved Roads. This is open to the public, really more of a reminder for all of us here. Need to pay attention and really address the care of these roads that all of our people are paying for. The next couple days, we have our Village Taxes 101. Tomorrow is at 10:30, and then Wednesday is at 6:30 p.m. This is with myself and Treasurer Miller going over village taxes, how that works, paying village and township and that sort of thing. On June 8th, we have our Vintage Fest. It's returning. There'll be vintage cars, different vendors, kids' activities. If you've noticed, the date has moved up this year. It will coincide with the community garage sales as opposed to having its own weekend. Hopefully this just generates, there's already people coming into town for the garage sales, and it generates more activity for us. Our village budget meetings start next Tuesday, the 24th, or, pardon me, Tuesday, the 23rd, and also Wednesday, the 24th, and then the following Tuesday, the 30th. Again, all at 7 PM here in this meeting room, and all are welcome for that. That is all I have. Did you want to give a report for Planning Commission?
No,
No?
no, I got some stuff in here.
Let's see. We have our committee reports. I kind of feel like we could dissolve our fire and ALS at this point, if we've approved. What's the board's feeling on that?
At least for a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel that we have a need to,
Nope.
okay.
I'll make a motion to dissolve the Fire ALS Subcommittee.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion by Parker, support by Edwards. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. We have our PILOT committee. Has anything been done there?
No, but I did read the meeting minutes for the DDA. They were talking about making a presentation, creating a presentation to bring to the pilot committee. So we will just wait for that update.
Okay, we just really need to, I don't know if this board wants to put it firm on next agenda or what, but we have businesses and people bringing business and wanting to purchase buildings in the village. And this is something that's out there that is on the books. And we need to come up with a hard and fast decision. Are we keeping this amount? Are we changing this amount? Are we taking this away?
Okay.
They want to come do business here, and it's a bit of it's a hindrance to them. So I don't know if this board just wants to take it up and stop waiting, but I do get frequent questions and need for an update and where we're headed with that.
Who's on that subcommittee?
Clerk Tripp heads it up.
Andrea St. Laurent from DDA, Jim Stegner, and Nate Bartholomew at this time,
And they've met once or twice?
once or twice, yeah.
Yeah, and it's been on since the fall?
No, January, I think,
Okay.
December.
So we've had quite a few months. We're not getting anywhere. This board really needs to make a decision if I could urge us in that direction.
If we can get an update by next month, if not, then we can motion to dissolve that committee and take it on ourselves.
Or do we just want to look at the ordinance ourselves? Because if the committee's going to wait for DDA, I feel like bringing it to a point and actually putting it on business to be addressed is a little more
I'm fine with that.
moving us forward.
Yeah. What is the holdup? Because didn't we approve this back 2-3 years ago?
We put
with
the,
Trustee?
there's been an ordinance there. We put in a price to the parking space.
That's what we did then.
Right.
And so what is the committee, what are you guys actually doing?
Well, the first time we met, we did, Mr. Stegner suggested that we ask the board to vote on suspending for 1 year the ordinance, because businesses are coming in and they're finding that okay, say they rent a building on Main Street and they have no parking. Well, depending on the size of their place, they have to purchase parking at $10,000 a spot. And so they're just.
So basically, it's the cost is an issue?
The cost is an issue, because.
Not
it
that there
doesn't-
is a cost.
So if
just-
they need 4 spots and they pay $4,000, they're not guaranteed 4 spots, they're just paying for 4 spots.
And the job of the subcommittee was to figure out how to carry that out. We had put a price to it, and the clerk's office wasn't sure how to carry it out. Because we'd also put language in there, it didn't all have to be paid up front. It could be paid in installments.
Yeah.
And there was never really action or a procedure put into place. So that's what the subcommittee was trying to figure out the procedure. In the meantime, the subcommittee just said, well, we don't want to do a procedure, we just want to get rid of the cost. The DDA has spoken in such a way that it's cost prohibitive, it's keeping businesses away. So let's just put it on next month for some new business and start working on it.
And what was the point of the charge in the first place? What was gonna be done with that money?
Create parking,
To create future.
buy
parking.
new properties.
And to maintain the spots.
Yeah.
It gives us money that, unfortunately, for instance, we had a house that blew up.
Right.
And when that property came about, we had to find money. This would be this money of this fund would pay for that sort of thing. Should something come on the market, we have the finances to take care of it.
So has it been enforced at all?
Not to date.
I think when they come and find out about it, they just.
Yeah,
up
there
and
hasn't,
walk out.
or when, for instance, we just had a new restaurant come in, they came in at the same footprint and as the same use, so there is no increase in space. So there was no need for that business.
Okay.
So it depends, and that's why they didn't enlarge, or it would be larger. So it is affecting some development. So whether this board wants to get rid of it, reduce it, I don't know, but we really need to have real conversations. People are trying to come into the village and do great development here, and this is really something we're hearing in the office that is prohibitive to that.
And the DDA has plans to present on this, you said? And what? Okay,
So maybe we
They
could ask
would
the
like to.
DDA to present here next month.
that'd be a great idea.
Well, that
yeah.
was the intention. They are in the middle of trying to hire a director, and the hope was that the director would take up work there. So whether or not they will be ready by next month, I don't know.
Well, let's just try to move it along and put it on
Okay.
next month's
We'll put it on
agenda.
next month, and we'll at least get you guys the ordinance and start a conversation, okay?
Is there any way to find the old information that we had, I think Christine provided, that talked about, because I don't think we just threw a number at it. I think that was a cost that was
We took it
based on
from,
other communities
I
and
think
what
so.
they're
well,
doing.
in Church Street, the parking lot that we have
And the
just
cost.
created, they kind of took, hey, it took this much money to create this, and therefore each space is worth $10,000 to create or something like that. Not that,
So if we could find that info for next month, that'd be great.
that would be. I'll dig into it.
Thank you.
Okay, our GSAP subcommittee, that should not be on here.
That's been
Didn't we dissolve
dissolved,
that?
We did,
Okay.
my apologies.
Okay.
So we only have one committee?
And moving into our unfinished business, we have our,
Before we move on, are we gonna dissolve that committee, or are we gonna let that maintain?
the pilot. What would you
If we're
prefer?
gonna,
To you
if
guys.
we're gonna take it on, we might as well dissolve it, so it's not sitting out there, right?
Okay, fine with
I'll
me.
make a motion to dissolve the PILOP subcommittee.
We have a motion by Parker,
Support.
support by Rousseau to dissolve the PILOP committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have none opposed. Moving into our unfinished business, we have our fire ALS contract. This was back for discussion, just for a few minor details. When we had last spoken about it, we approved according to the generalities, but wanted Mark to just do a few deep dives. I highlighted the few areas of which Mark pointed out, not pointing them out as if they are a problem, but just pointing out that they are different than the original, specifically on the second page, the 90 days. In past contracts, it's been 120, is that correct?
It is.
Okay, so whether we're okay with that or not, that was just something he wanted to point out for us to discuss. And then also on the first page where we have the 6% annual increases, wanted that language cleaned up so that should have anything ever happen, it's not 6% continually on what's already there. It
6%
is built,
added.
it's built in. So we're just cleaning up that language there. So just wanted to bring that back for you guys. I had a brief conversation with Treasurer DeGiorgio. Didn't see a problem with cleaning up the language there. Didn't really talk too much into depth on the date, on the amount of days. So that's council preference, and they would just like to have this signed as soon as possible.
I would agree, eliminating the 6% in the writing, because it's already included in the chart. And if they would entertain going back to 120, we briefly talked about it when we approved this last month, and the more thought I put into it also is, it doesn't leave us much time. If they decide, hey, we're done, they send us a letter, 90 days, you gotta find something.
Maybe 2 meetings, yeah.
That's pretty, so if they'd be in support of going back to at least 120,
Okay.
I would agree.
So if we can get a motion to somehow, we'll clean up the language with the 6% and move the 90 to 120, that with those conditions met, that you would approve myself signing the contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the fire ALS fire ALS contract as presented with the changes to the 6% increase in the language in Article 1, and then with changing the days from 90 to 120 in Section 2.
Okay, motion by Parker,
Second.
support by Fowler. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? We have none opposed. Okay, for our crosswalk project update, finally getting attention from our engineers again. And unfortunately, the news isn't what we would prefer for it to be. To bring this project into what the slopes that we would prefer would be very, very costly. Also, given the fact, I put again in here this letter dated October 14th of '22, and I highlighted, as you can see, that was signed by President Malzahn on November 7th of '22, accepting and approving those changes. The state giving us grant money would have no need or intention of helping put more money into the project. And Rowe feels that they stand on firm ground with Ms. Malzahn's signature and acceptance on that page. So I asked Mike to draft language of how the state would just like to close out the project. I said, well, can we draft language that, well, we're signing under duress because we don't really truly accept the work that's done. But given the facts, we will at least close it for their books. So I highlighted on the second page is the email between Mike and myself. The second paragraph is the language he drafted and specifically mentioned that in a kind way, we're not happy with it. So before I go ahead and sign it, I wanted to make sure that this council approves these steps.
Mark, and we may have asked this before, because I think we've seen this letter before that was signed by Christine, President Malzahn. At that time, or does the president, did they have the authority to make that decision upon themselves without board approval for changes?
That decision probably should not have been made without board approval. The difficulty that the village faces going forward is, as the village president, Mrs. Malzahn had what we call apparent authority. As the village president, she appears to the world as having the authority to act as the village president and undertake actions on behalf of the village. And as such, the legal argument on Roe's behalf, if you were to proceed against Roe, would be, well, we didn't know she had the authority. And that's probably a pretty solid argument on Roe's behalf. So between, if you will, the council and the president, I believe she should have requested the authority of this board to sign off and end the project, given the circumstances that existed at the time. However, when she did sign off on it in her capacity, if you pursue Roe, their defense will be, well, we didn't know that she didn't have the authority, and that's going to be a hard defense to overcome. So your question is really twofold. Did she need the board's approval? If I'd been asked at the time, my advice would have been yes. But now that the letter's been signed, you can't really hide behind, and hide's probably a bad word, but you can't stand behind her apparent authority and say you didn't know.
So if our fight is not with Roe, are we able to go back on, because she was bonded, correct, per ordinance?
I'd have to look at that, whether that, and what the terms of the bond is, or are as well. I don't know. Yes, she should have been bonded. I don't know what those terms are, if it covers acts like this, is it errors and omissions, or does it cover affirmative acts that should not have been undertaken without knowing the conditions of the bond? I wouldn't be able to give you any advice on that.
Is that something you'd be willing to look into?
Well, sure, absolutely.
Does that need a board vote, or can?
And one of the considerations would be, what is the time frame for making a claim against the bond?
Exactly, yeah.
And so there are a lot of issues relative to it, but absolutely, if you provide me with a copy of the bond or access to the bond information, I will gladly look at that.
Can you do that, President Poznanski?
If the board so wishes that we look into this in reference to President Malzahn, is that the direction the board would like to go?
Before we decide that, can I ask another question? Because I know at that time, the director of the DDA, Ms. Miller, was involved in conversations and directing what happened in that area. Would that same rule apply, that she had apparent authority?
Well, there's no signature from Elizabeth.
Right, and the letter mentions Ms. Miller's involvement. It's not, I don't want to say the involvement's not significant, but it's not a significant part of the letter. And there are some other issues relative to her position and that would inform that decision as well. She's no longer the DDA director.
Right, okay.
And the project was. I apologize, I don't know if the battery's dying. The project was held and carried out, and the contracts were signed by the Village of Romeo.
Well, I think that's my point, is they took direction from Ms. Miller.
And
We didn't have the authority.
You have two, if I understand the posture correctly, you have two separate issues. One is the sign-off on the project using the language that Mr. McDonald prepared and is recommending, even though it involves the same facts, the same basic situation, signing off on the project is, based on your objections, is not the same as pursuing or potentially pursuing a bond or a claim.
Right, we
against
can
the
do
bond.
both, yeah. So that is my request in this update, is that this language is sufficient, that the village would close out this project with this language.
Are you comfortable with it?
I think I have to be. It's not what we want, but especially given the state and the money, I would hate to continue in a fight that would maybe hurt us down the road for other grant monies for other projects, to continue to not sign on it.
Make a motion to authorize President Poznanski to sign off with the attached letter as written.
And you're okay with it, Mark?
Yes, again, I'm looking at it in a very narrow context,
Right.
that this is simply an acknowledgement of the completion of the project. It's not necessarily an acknowledgement that you're satisfied with the project,
Right.
because Mr. McDonald points out in there that what your reservations are, or what you're actually not approving. I realize that the project involved money, but I don't think the sign-off on this involves money. In other words, the state just wants to close its books on the grant.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I'll support.
Okay, so we have a motion by Parker, support by Rousseau. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Do we have any opposed?
I would also like to make a motion to authorize Mark Clark to look into the bond held by the past president Christine Malzahn as it relates to the issues that were presented.
I'll give that motion a second.
Okay, we have a motion by Parker, support by Fowler. Do we want to do an all in favor? All in favor? Aye. Do we have any opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Can you raise your hands
State
on the
your
nays,
name.
please?
Okay,
All those an aye.
so we have a
Three
Nate
nays.
and Care,
Thank you.
Bartholomew and Edwards. Let us see. Moving into our new business, our chief of police appointment. I have for you in your packet Mr. Kevin Roy's resume, also a letter provided by himself. Since this time, it was our last meeting, I have been able to call some of the references, so I have some additional information there for you, and also traveled out to West Bloomfield to meet at his past apartment. So from some of the people that recommended him. I asked specific questions about his leadership style. How would you describe his leadership style? One of them stated it's similar to servant leadership, that he's not overbearing and will lead by example, yet is firm when needed. I asked specifically about his work ethic. One of them gave an example that he would answer a phone on a weekend when needed if business calls. He steps away if it's private, and that he understands that this is not a 9-to-5 position, and that he does not complain or badmouth any people that he works with or for. I asked specifically about anger or any anger issues. And they stated no, not that they've seen him ever lose it, and have actually even seen him in a situation that was upsetting. And he addressed it with the proper people and took the steps and did not get physically angry at the altercation or at the meeting. Another one described him as a strong leader, and that his strengths are in communication with his team, and that he's committed to his work. He always follows up. You'll get a follow-up email from him, or how did that go? If someone comes to him for questions or direction, he follows up with them. And also said that is not just a 9-to-5 job for him. He is impressed with his work ethic. All of his team would speak well of him. And he has a tenacity for cold case investigations. That's just a sweet spot for him that he really excels at and has interest in. I met with his past chief, Chief Patton of West Bloomfield Police Department. Went out there, looked through employee file, nothing to note or report there. Spoke with Chief Patton at length. I think it was like 2.5 hours. Had a lot to say, and a lot of good information and advice also. Spoke to Kevin's ability to communicate, again, effectively and coordinate, his inherent knack for leadership. Kevin was one of their initial cadets in their program back when he was young. It made me chuckle when I was looking through his personnel file to see the price that he came in at back in the day. It was under $10. And also, Chief Patton spoke to his organizational skills and gave examples of the different teams that Kevin has led over time and all the logistics for the different moving parts of different operations. So those were some of the follow-up things that I have done. Kevin, I wanted to give him a chance to speak here and speak to the council, and if the council had further discussion.
Evening, everybody. You get to put a face to the name on the packet in front of you. First, I'd like to introduce three extremely important women in my life. This is my wife of 20 years, Sarah. My eldest daughter, Summer. And the embarrassed one is my youngest, Lavery. And I'd also like to acknowledge Chief Dan Suchelnecki. Sir, you and I just met tonight. We don't know each other well, but what I do know of you is you've been in service to this community for over 20 years, and that demands respect. And if confirmed tonight, I hope I can count on your counsel and your wisdom going forward on all things Romeo PD. To the council, I won't waste too much of your time. I'll be very, very brief. I'm not going to run down my resume. You guys have the packet in front of you. I'll just say that I'm highly experienced, trained, educated, and prepared for the position, and I hope that you bless me with the opportunity to bring all of that experience and training to the village of Romeo. I do come from a larger agency, yes, and I have great appreciation for the opportunities that were available to me there. But every life has its seasons, and I think I've had this conversation with some of the council members. And this is my season now. I am selectively looking for a small, quaint bed and breakfast, little piece of Americana community, and Romeo certainly fits that bill. I look forward to immersing myself in the community and taking an active public safety role in the preservation and protection of Romeo events such as Peach Fest, Tilson Street Halloween, Bike Night, and St. Baldrick's. And I pledge to you tonight that the safety and welfare of this community, the safety and welfare of the men and women of the Romeo Police Department, and the preservation of the small-town culture that you enjoy will always be a priority. I thank you for your consideration tonight, and I'm available now or afterwards for questions and conversation.
Thank you.
I look forward to getting the opportunity to meet you and knowing you. You know, we made several attempts to try to view the application process, but we were unsuccessful in those attempts, so good luck. Hope everything works out right.
I look forward to getting to know you.
Yes.
Do we have any other discussion?
No. Thank you for applying.
Questions? Okay.
And your process of the interviewing, what brought Kevin to the top, in your opinion?
Well, not only did he score at the top, when all the chiefs scored the application, or, you know, the question, the interview, but his resume, his qualifications, when you would see all the resumes, you could see which ones easily moved to the top, and then through interviews, even at the chiefs, there were 4 chiefs there, so we had Armada, let me think, we had Armada, Richmond, Imlay City, and Dryden. So the 4 chiefs. There were 2 that definitely stood out at the top, that some of them are, that's the one, and also with another candidate. However, you cannot make candidates accept requests to be the police chief. So Kevin is the candidate at the top.
Wasn't the Emily City candidate one of your interviewers?
We didn't have a candidate also.
All right, that's part of the process that we looked at. All right, fine.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion if the board would like to appoint Mr. Kevin Roy for our police chief.
I'd make a motion to accept Mr. Kevin Roy as the next police chief in the village of Romeo.
Okay, we have a motion by Matt, support by Bartholomew. Do you have discussion?
Am I allowed to ask our current police members? Have you guys had a chance to review and look through this, and are you comfortable?
I don't know if that's quite, not to, they were invited to be part of the discussion and the interview process, and because of the way that things are, and potentially hiring their boss, I'm not sure that how comfortable they feel in answering that question.
Understandable.
If you would like to, you are welcome to, but. Okay. There was an offer made for them to be a part of it, and
Let me
if,
rephrase that. The way I worded it came out a little stubbled. I was more referring to chief directly, not the department as a whole, I'm sorry.
I saw Kevin's resume, and he's more than qualified to handle the position.
any other discussion? Okay. Oh. Yeah, no? Catherine, could you please call the roll?
Edwards,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Rousseau,
Yes.
Fowler,
No.
Care,
Yes.
President Poznanski,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Forward to getting me.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Moving on in our business to our marijuana license applications. Let us remind the council that this is ceremonial, as this is in our ordinance as such, that you can see it has been signed off. Each appropriate department has at least looked at it and approved or denied, and so it is at the table, and these 2 are acknowledged. Do you want me?
Motion that we accept
No,
the-
we don't,
No.
it's ceremonial, we don't need any motions.
Okay, all right.
It's just announced that they have been done. We have our applicant of Northern Buds LLC and our Michigan Aspire IV 4. Okay,
Can I ask, can I just ask a question? I know the planning approved contingent That was all squared away?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah, oh, yes, yes, yes.
awesome.
Moving into our Village Hall masonry bids. Clerk Trapp took the time to go through it all, kind of give us a bit of a spreadsheet here. When they built the RFP, we had them build it in different stages, just in case, depending on pricing and need, that we could do stages. So this is where you have all of the different alternate prices down the line.
Yep.
There was quite a swing.
Yes, in a few different of them.
So my question was going to be, are they all including similar to same items because of this swing here looks in pricing? Is it apples to apples?
Well, that's where when you send out a request for proposal, this wasn't a request for quote. So there will be items that are not apple to apples.
Okay.
Maybe they didn't quote something out, whereas that they couldn't accomplish, but
Okay.
somebody else did. So you won't see the same pricing there.
Okay,
So there can be differences, yes.
all right, thank you.
Is this something we want to vote on tonight?
That is the plan. If you want more time, I guess we can bring it back to one of the special meetings in the next few weeks, but this is something that we're moving into the season for this sort of work. They would like to get started, secure the work, and put it in their calendars.
You've met with all of them, Megan?
I have not.
I mean, just looking, well, when I went through it, I hate to say, I picked the first one on the list here, but I did like the Bornor restoration project. Capabilities or experience and things of that nature seem to be right down our lane. So that would be my personal recommendation.
Yeah, I would agree, Matt. For me, it was the top two. I've seen work that Ram has done,
Yeah.
even in the village, and they seem to do nice work.
Right, the RAM did just do the bank. In Poe, the third one was also the one who came out and created the bid package. So I know that they are skilled in historic restoration also.
And all of them were present at the pre-construction meeting. So they all toured the outside of the building already.
And laid their eyes on the project.
Yep.
So is there one that you feel addresses all of the issues and concerns? Because you are the folks in the building that know every brick. So do you think any one of these addressed it better than another? That we can't see from numbers?
No, because at least for myself, I've only seen the same thing you've seen paper-wise.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
I would agree with everybody that we're at least looking at the top three, throwing out some of the low and the high. They're all very close.
But we don't know if they've included everything you,
I would go with Matt's suggestion, do it, back it off for 30 days and contact these top three and have them give you apples to apples bid on everything.
Well, if we continue down that road, then we're throwing out the RFP and we need to put an RFQ then.
Well, I would go with Poland and restorations.
What would make you lean that way? Just price based more so?
Know a little bit of the company, so. it's-
Okay.
I mean, out of the three. So
My
everybody
problem with that is you're just wasting time from a standpoint, and you only have so much of a season to do this kind of work, and it's gonna be a 3-month project.
has- yeah.
So, I mean, if you wait till May, that means they're not starting till June.
I mean, if I go with a company right
Potentially,
now,
assuming they don't
I'd
fill up
go
their
with Pulse, so
schedule.
you would go with, I mean, obviously, everybody has a different opinion.
I think you're speaking regarding different things. What are you exactly speaking
I'm
towards,
talking
Matt?
about time.
Yeah.
He's talking about waiting
Yeah.
till
I
next
mean,
month.
It's a
if I go with
9-month,
somebody right
Okay.
now,
it's a
I'd go with
3-month
Pulse.
project.
Well, I see
And
3 weeks.
90 days
One of them's 3
completion
weeks.
time?
The first one says 90 days.
Right. But
I
I'm
mean-
saying the PO that he's speaking of is 3 weeks. So
Yeah.
they're very different.
I think Matt was
3, 6.
responding to his first comment about waiting.
Yeah.
to accept
Okay,
it.
Waiting
that's what I
for-
thought. It was two
Yeah.
different topics
Yes,
there.
Exactly.
Okay. So Mr. Fowler's leaning towards Poe. Mr. Edwards, you are leaning more towards Bornor, the first one. What specifically, is there more within there?
Well, just the work they've done on the university campuses and things of that nature.
So
around it.
experience.
Yeah, experience, and they're restoring those buildings back to exactly what they were.
Mm-hmm. I'm good either way with the council's comfort. Because the next step is to start working on the roof, because as soon as this is put in and done, we need to get the roof in there to cover our ledges and get that secured.
I mean, we meet again in 11 days. I'm not really inclined to push this off any further than we have to, as it's pretty important. But at that first budget meeting, I mean, at least for me, I'm a little green on these bid packets and what all each company is covering. I'd kind of like to take a longer look at it personally. I would probably be leaning towards the top three. A couple of these just don't even seem like they'd be in the ballpark.
So we plan on meeting next Tuesday, correct?
That is our,
Yeah.
yep, that is
Oh,
our
yeah.
meeting.
Can
Next
we
Tuesday.
table this till next Tuesday?
That's fine.
I
To
would like to do
give
that.
everyone a little more time to review everything?
Not a problem. Just please come back ready with a,
Yeah.
let's make a decision.
Can I
This
request
isn't-
that you bring all these items back with you?
Right. Please don't make us
A lot of
kill more
printing.
You
trees.
don't want to print all these back out?
This is nice, though. Thank you.
Okay, moving into our flagpole ordinance. The planning commission has put together and finally proposed this flagpole ordinance for us.
Yeah, this one back and forth for quite a few meetings.
6 months.
Yeah, quite a few, working on the language and different arguments with placement and just overall, why are we restricting people's ability to put up a flagpole? And so I went back and forth quite a bit, and this is what we came to.
Does the board have any discussion regarding this ordinance? What's proposed here?
So, whether I'm for or against the ordinance, is someone, because I was reading this, specifically like, the materials used must be manufactured specifically for flag use. So who's gonna monitor that? Do they have to come in and get a permit, and then we're gonna ask exactly what materials they're using, or? And I'm asking that to be a little bit of a devil's advocate. If we're gonna put this in place, it needs to either be useful or not in place.
Well, the assumption would be if they are coming to get a permit, that would be the thing that the permit is, that you're paying for in the detail of the permit, that would be the person to ask those, to look into that material and what,
So do we have a flag permit application currently?
we do not at this time, because we don't have an ordinance or need to make one yet.
No, well, that didn't mean. Okay.
We-
So that's my thought process. I'm not for or against, I want to make sure if we're going to have an ordinance that we're going to,
Enforce it?
enforce it and believe in it, yeah.
And could I add that if we are going to vote on establishing a building permit, we need to establish a fee that will cover administrative and review costs and inspection costs if you are wanting somebody to physically inspect the correct materials. So then we would have to ballpark a fee.
Right.
Right now, with all of those costs involved, it's looking at about $150.
I think the building inspector was concerned about the base and the footing that was going in more so than most anything else.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And can you refresh our memory what instigated this, the need for this ordinance?
If my memory, if I remember correctly, it was when I think we had the flagpole come down right in
In the
town,
Four
right at-
Corners.
At the
Four
gas
Corners at
station.
the gas station.
Someone put too large of a flag up on the pole. It caught on to, I believe,
Our
the
light,
traffic signal or the light became a sail and took the flagpole down right across the street and became a hazard. So that's why there's square footage or manufacturer allowance for the size of a flag that can go up, and it's kind of putting everything in writing that is, we think is obvious, but may not be.
I'm good with it.
Make a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt the flagpole ordinance as presented.
I'll support.
So we have a motion by Care, support by Parker. Does it say, speak to when this ordinance will go into effect? Because we really do need to have our permit with our,
Would we have to do that like by next month? We'd have to have the permit or the application finalized?
Should we add the fee right now also?
Well, it's separate from the ordinance
It would be
itself.
separate. Is that, would that be something that would come back to planning, or is that something we can do administratively in the office and bring it back for next month?
yeah, it doesn't need to come to planning. We
I
can
don't think
figure
so.
that out.
Are you comfortable with that? Yeah. So we can do a separate motion that we want the permit to be $150.
I'd give her, unless you've already looked into the numbers, maybe give her till next month to finalize that.
Well, that kind of follows our sign permit, which is the same thing. You know, you fill out the permit, how much is it administratively, and then the review process. And then, I believe sign permits have one inspection, so it's gonna follow the same format, and
Yeah,
that's,
so I don't know if, with the building inspector, if this would be a 1 or 2, if he's gonna wanna inspect the hole for depth, then you're gonna pour, and then you're gonna have to probably do a
then that would
final.
raise the cost, because then
So-
2 inspections would be involved.
Yeah, so maybe.
So that would go
you
up
wanna
to
follow
pushing
with Mark on that? Or not
200.
Mark,
Mike?
Mr. Bomarito,
Okay,
and then we can finalize next month?
the fee, finalize it
Fee
next
and
month?
The application.
So we can accept the ordinance as presented.
Yes.
You're fine. Mr. Clark, could I address this to you? So if we had, approve this ordinance as stated right now, without an actual way to carry it out, would we need to put any sort of caveat to this?
No, I think it should be, the text is very clear, but I think it should be, and maybe your code service that you use or how you show these online handles the section numbers, and I usually recommend some boilerplate about it taking precedent over any other ordinances. I know there aren't any. And I believe it would be helpful to put in a provision in there that says the fee will be as determined by a resolution of the council from time to time. I think people should know that there will be a fee when they come in and not be surprised by it, but I don't think you should have to amend your ordinance every time you feel that it's appropriate to reset the fee, and keeping in mind that your fees have to be commensurate with the service you're providing. You can't use it as kind of a side purse to make additional money.
I'll withdraw my support, and maybe we should wait till.
Yeah,
legal
let's table
review.
till next month. We'll get
Okay.
the,
I can put this in ordinance form as I typically would, and have it for the next meeting, including a provision leaving the amount of the fee blank. And then if Catherine has ideas about something handled administratively, if it should be reflected in the ordinance, then I could put that in as well.
okay.
Perfect.
So I'll rescind my motion then.
Thank you.
We will table with the, for next month for the extra information.
Okay.
And I'm chuckling, I apologize with Cindy in the background, she also sits on the planning commission with me. This has been back and forth several times for little language changes, and I think she's,
Moving on to our DDA event permit. This is our Vintage Fest permit.
Motion
make
that
a
we,
motion.
we
Go.
accept
Aye.
it as presented?
I'll support.
We have a motion by Fowler, support by Parker to accept the DDA event permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I actually have a question. I know the DDA's not here, but if this is the same day as the village-wide garage sale, and they're proposing to close a significant amount of streets within the village, do you know if that was considered or discussed, how that would impact? Because the garage sale pulls a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Did they talk about that?
I don't think they've spoken with Parks and Rec that I know of. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like.
I don't, not that I know of.
That's a good, think about that.
So what adjustments to be made?
So garage sales are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is solely on Saturday, so it won't be the whole time. The hope was to add more to the event of the weekend.
Well, one will feed off the other.
Yeah,
Right.
Yep.
I like that idea.
If I'm following Shelley, you're also talking about eliminating quite a bit of parking or access to streets
Yeah,
and
and
parking.
availability to move through. So if you're having your garage sale on Saturday and now half the village is closed and people can't park and people didn't know there was a Vintage Fest but came for the garage sale, are they gonna be frustrated? So I just didn't know if they had discussed that or.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
That's not been a discussion.
Well, the closures are only off the main street, correct?
Correct.
The main drag, yeah.
And the Village Park.
Yeah, from Newberry down.
So that's
So
all
there's
parking
still
around
access
Village
from
Park
the,
and
people
all the
take
main street.
roundabout ways to get to these sites we should be okay.
Which we all do because of the garage sales. They're all kind of going around the neighborhoods.
I think it's
Okay.
worth the offset for the influx and people to come to Vintage Fest. If someone's gotta wait till Sunday to pick up their piano, then, you know, it might be an inconvenience, but people can park on the side streets, I think it's fine.
Make sure you give your cell number.
Don't ask me, yeah.
No, it is a good point.
Okay.
Did we do a favor or
You
not?
already voted.
Oh,
No, we
okay.
didn't. Oh, we did. Okay. I was gonna say it's staying. I don't think we voted.
We did an all?
You called all in favor, and then
Oh,
at
Oh, I
the
thought
na-
the
at the
discussion
nays, we
was
started the
before.
discussion.
That's right.
It still stands.
All in favor of supporting the DDA event?
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one opposed, trustee Rousseau. Okay, we move into our discussion with our Headley override. We've asked Mark on a couple different occasions, come up with language specifically regarding putting this on the ballot, because this will be an initiative that needs to be passed by the people. So what we have prepared for you is, I kind of did two birds with one stone at the same conversation, because they do play off of each other. The initial override, one of them is the general fund. And that is where our focus is to regain funding for the fire and ALS contract. The second one, I had them review, not in separate topic, but still also potentially on the same ballot, could be, but also to take in consideration, was our streets with the roads that we did not initiate back a couple years ago when we went out for the bond. We were also supposed to raise 2 mills. We did not do that. We do not have the money to finish the road project. This is we know this, right? So this is just finally getting to fruition, some of that information, the tools, in order for us to make decisions that we need to make. Questions, comments? Where would we?
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is the 2 mills that President Malzahn had stated that we wouldn't have to go out for vote, we could just do that at the board table?
We were asking 2 separate questions. This is about an override or a rollback. So specifically for the general fund, let me see. So the streets, to roll back, you roll back to where you started, which is not far enough for 2. And that's where we're saying, could we do it here at the table? I think legally we're allowed to, but is that something, that's not something I'm willing to do, at least do. I think the people need to have a vote on that. So, I guess that's an opinion.
So are you looking to put this together in 2 separate votes then, or?
Well, this is where we just need to brainstorm together, what are we proposing? And now that we do have a little bit more information, what would we like to do? Let me find the spot. So the override, if we were to roll back just for the general fund, she stated in here the 2. So in 26, we would realize 480, and then in 27, 495. And then, so as soon as you roll back, they continue to decrease again, depending on inflation and in property tax or property values. So they the point is to try and keep it as equal or as stable as possible. So we also need to keep into account the amount that our contract is fluctuating. So just to roll back the general fund gets us initially 480, second year 495, so let's say 500. Our contract is only going up, not saying only, but considering what it could have went up, you know, a couple hundred. 130, somewhere. So the conversation is, do we really also need to do the roads? Roll back that one. Is that, do you want to ask for both or just one, see where we get? I always like to be cautious, however, just realize and being cautious, by the time we realize should we need more money down the road, you're another year or two behind by the time you put it on the ballot and ask for it to be decided on.
So if I could ask, with the fire ALS contract, as it relates to this, we're looking at changing the days from 90 to 120. If we put this on a ballot in November and it doesn't go, then that doesn't leave us that time frame to cancel, right? Because that payment would come due for next year, correct?
Right, and we would find the money. We have the money. It's continuing to have the money is where you will see over time in the budget that we don't continually have that money and what that will do to the budget. So no decisions. That's why I have it on here for discussion. These are things we need to be thinking about, especially moving into our budget season. Finally got some actual estimates and numbers. You have a little bit more supplementary information in here. And start talking to the residents and thinking, you know, what is it that we want to do? You can also, so similar to, for example, would be Bruce Township. They have a levy, but they don't actually use the whole levy. Washington Township does that in a couple different spots too. They have potential to levy 5 mills, but because the need is only at, say, 2, they only actually, during the assessment for those years' tax rolls, only levy at the 2. But the people have approved up to a certain amount, others.
So that would put us in the same situation, you're saying?
We could.
I mean, the conversations I've had with people in regards to the fire and ALS, they basically came down to, I mean, it's not like we were hiding the fact that the prices, you know, was coming close to being doubled at that point in time. And their taxes were going to be jumping because of that, or the fees were, that they all kind of like shrugged their shoulders and, you know, tensely said, well, you know, what are we gonna do? I guess we have to do it. That's kind of reluctantly, everyone I had talked to said, well, we gotta be covered, so.
So to finish a little bit farther in here, so it says the increase on the average residential taxable property tax bill would be approximately $235 in fiscal year 2026. And that is specifically only speaking to the rollback in the general fund. So in reference to covering the fire, an additional essentially $235. There will be extra, and that's where I'm saying, do we really need to do the road? If there is enough extra in there, this could potentially be enough for both without having to also do that.
Well, we could certainly try it that way. I'm not for taxing people just to tax them.
Right. So let's continue. We have this in our packets. We'll have this more discussion on Monday. Mark has already basically drafted some template to put it on a ballot. Just wasn't sure if we were then also trying to figure out road mills to be putting on the ballot or if it was just the single override. Because we also have to pay attention to the fact that we have to figure out how to finish this road project. So will we also be asking potentially at some time for more bond money or figuring out of our own pocket?
Well, we might, but I thought you said that at least passing that might give us enough to cover the first year.
Passing which part? Say it again.
Passing the fire ALS. might give us enough
Just roll back.
to cover the first year.
It's gonna, so back when we had the conversation about the roads, we talked about fronting $1 million.
Yeah.
We never fronted the $1 million. So my thought was, we take the $1 million we talked about fronting, and we use it on the back end now. And when we finally get, if this was to come in, we'd get an extra 250, so we'd have a 1.2 of our own potentially. Still leaves us with a large hole, of which we have funds, or do we want to bond for the funds? Again, conversations, things to be thinking about.
I think it'd be probably a good thing to do. I think that's what we always had. If we talk about the 2 mills for the road,
Well, I'm saying to finish it. I don't know how much it's going to take. Is it going to be 3 million and now we have 1.2? Is it going to be 4 million? Is it going to be 2? We do have a healthy fund balance. Something that you guys will be seeing in our budget talks is a fund balance policy where it's clearly laid out what needs to be put into reserves and kept in reserves, and then how much money we have to accomplish
are we
projects.
financially in the hole though with all the retirement issues, I forget what that's called, but,
With the OPEB,
oh, yeah.
technically, if we had to pay that all in right now, yes, but that's not, we can't just sit on all of, what I'm trying to say is the people have given us all of this tax money and it's sitting there. Why would we bond for more money when we have money in the pot to do that they've already given us to use? But that, again, that's a conversation you will have at budget, and you can all see the numbers and see everything that we have clearly laid out and
I
defined.
think you've answered your question.
I know what I would do as if it was, but we need to be, we're
We need to be,
a committee
yeah,
of the whole.
Fiscally responsible.
Correct. And I hate to ask for more money when we have money.
Right.
Why not use it?
Why not use it?
Okay. Lastly, moving into our tree ordinance proposed update. So the tree board wanted to make a few updates to their ordinance. I put both of them in here. I tried to differentiate which one original versus draft for you guys. Do we have any discussion?
So the pruning by utilities, that section has been added, I'm assuming, not changed, correct? That they'll be notified within 48?
Well, there is language in here. If you look at the, what section is that, are you looking at?
14-112.
So the current ordinance does talk to that section, and they wanted to add oh, for goodness sakes,
So
right here.
Yeah. And then, and I'm assuming that's 48 hours?
I would assume so.
Okay.
I don't know what other 48 they'd want.
That should be a clerical thing there.
So that's just a completely added sentence onto the bottom. It doesn't,
I see.
nothing else has changed.
Okay.
There is a different portion where it does ask the DPW or the village to be notified. Just so we're all clear, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
They come into the community, they send out the letters, you often get them at your door that they're coming, and that's how we find out in the village hall. They don't come to village hall and say, we're doing work in your community.
Even though they're supposed to. Yeah.
So trustee Parker, I wanted to ask you specifically on section 114-119, the site plans. It mentions that when there's development of any property, the village planning commission and the tree board shall review the landscaping plans. So how would you see that happening for the tree board to be involved with approving site plans? It starts at the bottom.
Oh, I see. So that would probably have to happen with Cindy again, or who's ever receiving the site plans and notifying the tree board ahead of time. But then we'd have to probably then change our policy there for providing a certain number of site plans, if we gotta then provide them for the entire tree board then also. So that would be required change on that end also.
And then would the tree board have a vote in approving or disapproving site plans based on trees?
Mr. Clark?
Well, the way you have the language, it would, the village planning commission and the tree board shall review landscaping plans and may require trees to be planted on or near the site. So it would be mandatory. I don't think the tree board would have the authority to weigh in on other things in the site plan, but certainly as to the plantings, which I'm inferring that that's the intent of adding the tree board as part of the approval process.
Says the tree board reviewed the site plan and the ordinances with the required amount of trees that are required, and is that something you guys are comfortable with? Or do you think that needs to change? Because if the planning commission is going to review and note that there's, needs to be 7 trees on the site, and we approve it with 7 trees, we've done our job of it. After that, that would then fall back on the building department, building inspector for final approvals if that didn't happen.
Right.
But then, is there anything that says they need to maintain that number of trees? If one were to die and fall down and never gets replanted, maybe that's something that needs to be changed, because I think that has happened.
And the types of trees is also a concern for the tree board. So does planning approve the types of trees or just 7 trees?
It's a good question.
Talks about that in here,
I
doesn't it?
think,
Well, it
I
says
think
there's
for
a
the
whole
most part,
list of trees
they're
that,
listed, and I
Yeah.
think that they're all verified. That
Yeah,
they
we have
match
prohibited
the-
tree list.
They match the tree
Okay.
list.
you know, you-
And then, yes,
Well,
then they
trees
just
you
added and
can't
updated
Yeah, so
according.
that's the draft they're proposing.
right.
Without it. there's-
Can I ask then, is there, like some kind of parameters that if your lot is so big, you're required to have so much trees or landscaping? And like, what are the parameters for, that the tree board can make decisions, yes or no? We would need a whole section of that, of what's in their authority.
Isn't
Isn't that already
on the
reviewed?
planning?
Okay, well,
Yeah, that's all determined with the site plan. that
Okay.
we review.
Right, and if we give those powers, and the powers are vested in the planning commission by the enabling act,
Okay.
I'm not sure that the tree board, maybe we could phrase their involvement differently into this portion of it, that
It's a little redundant.
the job is already being done, and I know that they would still like to be considered, though, in the manner of
Right.
trees. So I think putting it in a different phrase, so that they
before
still get what they're trying to achieve without doing redundant work.
I would be for
Right.
if the tree board wanted to review the planning ordinances for number or placement of trees and brought a proposal if there was more trees wanted, if something like that could happen, if you guys wanted to review that aspect of it.
Or maybe just once the planning commission approves a landscaping plan, the tree board is notified and will be able to, to then go speak with
It's kind of,
Yeah.
but not making them have to review it.
Because I think that's what the tree board is getting at, is they respect planning and what planning does, but the tree board's view is a little more specific and a little more honed in on the specific trees, where planning commission is looking at something a little bit different. So they want to work hand in hand. I don't think anybody wants to be on the board and have a no vote because someone didn't put the right tree in. But they certainly want to work hand in hand to make sure that from the get-go, new developments are meeting a standard.
that's,
So
I would
yes, to
fall back to
Megan's-
then, if you guys wanted to review the ordinances that dictate that, and if there's any changes or suggestions that you feel need to be made, bring them before planning, and we can review and discuss and
And then that'll
Alter.
just be baked right in then.
And then you have the guys.
Okay, so we're tabling it.
Yeah, I'll get back with the tree board. I think they'll be happy to give input on
Okay.
ordinances.
Yeah, I know they've worked on it. They've had it for a little bit, trying to look at it. Okay, so we will be tabling our tree ordinance proposal until next month also. At this time, our board will be moving into closed session, which means we must dismiss the public.
When you're ready.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Where are we? 8:25.
If you'd like to end the meeting?
Do we make a
Or do you wanna
motion
make a
to,
motion?
or are we gonna wait for it to be presented and come back?
Well, we didn't really officially send him with that offer then, we just kind of mentioned it. Do we, is there even a motion necessary?
We need a motion, correct, Mark?
If you're willing to do that, yes, I would, yes, I would,
Yeah.
if that's your offer.
I'd Make a,
Do you want him to wait till he's back in here, or does it matter?
Oh, the rest of them.
make a motion to pay out per the grievance, 58 hours of sick time.
Support.
We have a motion by Parker, support by Care.
Do you want
Oh.
to note in the motion that we're forfeiting the 80 hours of,
No.
just 58?
That's what you guys decided.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any opposed? We have none opposed. Zach?
Why do you always want me to do it? I'll make a motion
You're
to
the new guy, yeah.
adjourn.
I second you.
Okay, motion by Care, support by Parker. All in favor? Aye.
I got you second.
You want to look better on the minutes, I got you.
Man, back up.
Oh, that Nolan's always making a motion.